I'll say this much for Jordan Peele. The guy is masterful. He masterfully knows how to set a tone, a suspenseful tone, and he's really good at setting up situations or scenarios that really are gripping, because that's what we got in the first two acts of Us. I have to be honest, I didn't expect much going into this because I heard mixed things about it. But you know what I love particularly about the first act is that he really took the time to get us introduced to the characters, the family, to the mom, the dad, the son, and the daughter. I really felt like I knew those characters. The dad he struck me as kind of like the corporate climber. His family is clearly upwardly mobile. They have the whole beach house thing going. So I really like that he really got me interested in these characters. He fleshed them out very well. A lot of nice little setups that I kind of knew were going to be foreshadowings of things to come. He starts us off in 1986 during the Hands Across America event, which I do recall. And we see a young girl wander off into a fun house type of thing, like a house of mirrors. They're on the beach in like a Coney Island type of thing, although looks like it's in California. But it's like a boardwalk type of thing. She wanders off, and I started to give the movie a little bit of a side eye right then, because I don't know any kid that would do that. I hate to say this, but I don't think I know any black kids that would do that. But we're going to get into that. There are a lot of things in here that, well, let me not go there. Anyway, so he sets that up. It's a little weird. It's a little implausible to me, but I went with it because we just started this movie out, and he has to do things to get the story rolling. You know, I would have made different choices if it were me, if I were the screenwriter, but be that as it may. Right off the bat, we know that something's wrong. There's something that happens that tells us that, okay, we're in for a little bit of a bumpy ride here. And it's pretty clear that this is going to pay off somehow as the movie goes along. So it was a masterfully done setup in the first act. Then we get into the second act where we introduce the conflict, and it is a conflict that is, again, superb. He did a great job. They're beset upon by individuals who seem to be copies of the family. Even though we saw in the trailers that the people that raid the house are what look to be like copies of the main characters, it still was very effective. We don't know what their purpose is. We don't know what they want. Again, I tip my hat to Jordan Peele. He really sets those beats up very effectively. I was completely taken. Then the third act occurs, and what was an effective setup, and I felt kind of the same way with Get Out. Although I have to say, Get Out, even though it was full of tropes in the third act, there were tropes that you would expect. There was nothing that you didn't expect to happen in a typical horror movie. In this one, the third act tries to go really high concept, and what happens is it actually creates more questions than answers. The third act starts off with a scene that I didn't understand when I first saw it. It made no sense to me. It was somewhat confusing. But then, like I said, the movie just takes a wild turn. It kind of put me in the mind of last year's, what was that, Boots Riley film, Sorry to Bother You. That just takes a wild divergence into some crazy-ish. But unlike this movie, that divergence in Sorry to Bother You worked. It worked brilliantly because that movie was a straight-up satire. Now, I went into this movie thinking it was going to be a satire about, and this might be controversial, so be it. I thought it was going to be a satire about how black people, we can be our own worst enemy sometimes, and we need to examine ourselves. We need to examine the skeletons in our own closet. That's what I thought this was going to be about. And to a certain degree it is, but it becomes more global than that. I'm not going to give anything away. But this turn that I keep mentioning, this change of pace or that happens in the last act, it's not that effective, and it comes off for me more like The Happening, the M. Night Shyamalan film, where, and I will say, I did like that movie, The Happening, but I am fully cognizant of the fact that most people did not, so I respect that. So most people would say that The Happening failed because of the twist. I would say that that this movie kind of fails in that regard because of what happens at the end of this movie. It really expands upon what we see in the trailer, so that what we thought, and this is without any spoilers, what we thought was something that was happening to the family, to Lupita Nyong'o's family, we get a reveal that it's a lot bigger than that. The stakes are a lot higher than that. And I won't say anything more, although there is a scene, a quick shot in the trailer that kind of alludes to that or hints to that. But I think where this movie goes wrong is that, again, in the third act, it gets really high concept and it kind of falls flat because it's way too unbelievable. Suspension of disbelief is really challenged in that third act. I will say this, the concept that they introduce is kind of a twist. It's an interesting one, and had they approached this film in a different manner, it might have been very effective all the way through. I will throw out a mild spoiler. Think of the movie, the Michael Bay movie, one of the only movies that he directed that I kind of enjoyed, The Island. Think of that. I'm not going to say anything more. But I think Jordan Peele introduced a fascinating concept in the last act. But I think he asks a lot of the audience to just accept certain things that just needed or demanded some type of explanation. It was just too, some things were just too, like, I don't know, just like, okay, this just happens. Or this pathway just leads down to here. Or this door, if you open it, it will introduce you to the whole last part of the film, improbably. So, yeah, it really does, unfortunately, fall apart in that third act. And like I said, I thought the same of Get Out. Really build up, the first two acts built up a fascinating setup, a lot of fascinating setups, but the end, the conclusion, the denouement was just, it didn't really work for me. Like I said, Get Out, it was effective as a horror trope. Okay, I was a little disappointed. I wanted a little bit more to it than just the slasher type of thing. And in this film, he tries to go more high concept, but it's just too out of the park. It's just too out there. And then on top of that, it's like he challenges Shyamalan he tries to outdo Shyamalan. There's a second twist, which just, breaks the camel's back, the straw that breaks the camel's back. It had me groaning, rolling my eyes. I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. This second twist is, for me, a little eye-rolling, but it does bring a lot more discourse to this film. I went online as soon as I got out of the theater and saw all kinds of articles trying to delve into insights and subtext. Some of them interesting, some of them like, okay, you're reaching. But the problem is that, and I can't really reveal I don't want to reveal anything, but like I mentioned earlier, there's a flashback at the beginning to 1986 where we see a young girl walking through on the boardwalk, and then she enters a house of mirrors. What's funny is that this girl behaves in such an odd way that when the twist is revealed, it's like, I don't really notice a difference in her demeanor. So it's very confusing. I think that's a problem. I think it's a flaw in the film that the young actress was not directed to act a certain way to make things more distinguishable. And if you go see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give anything away. I will say I was kind of dodging this earlier, but I'm going to say there are scenes in this film where it's like, you did put black people in this horror movie, right? They do some things that are really, I think even white folks would be like, what the hell are you doing? What is going on here? There's a scene that I don't want to give it away, but they're in a car escaping, and they stop the car, and the mom gets out to check something, and I'm like, why? There are certain motivations, or characters do things, not even stupid things per se. I'm getting off of that now, but there's certain things that they do, or things that they figure out that just don't make any sense. Certain things that pop up that don't really add up. Like, how did she know to go there to find this? Or how did he know? Or why didn't he do this to get out of this situation? It's pretty obvious. At some points, the people in my row in the theater were like, what are you doing? So I say all that to say that it starts off great. I was really taken. I was really held in suspense. The conclusion was very disappointing. I was just waiting for it all to play out. Some really silly things happen. And while these things are happening, while I see, as I'm watching where the story is going, I'm thinking, okay, that's not a bad concept. That's not bad what you're introducing. But the way you introduced it so late in the film, it's just not working for me. In the second act, this high concept thing that I keep mentioning that I don't want to spoil for you, it takes a sharp turn. It was unexpected, and I'll give him that. It was unexpected. I'll just say that it takes place in the house of a white family, and we realize, oh, this thing that's happening. It's huge. It's bigger than just 4 people invading the Lupita Nyong'o household. And while I like that, it's just, you can't do that. And it's like it just felt tacked on, because there was no real reason for it, or they don't offer any explanation or backstory for it. What we do get, however, is Lupita Nyong'o's alter character doing the whole exposition thing in that third act, and that's never a good situation. And it was the same structure as in Get Out, when Daniel, I can't remember his last name, the actor, Daniel Mamumba, was that his name? When he's strapped to the chair and he's watching the TV, they explain everything in detail at that point in the third act. And while I tend to kind of roll my eyes when everything is in one big chunk explained in the third act, you set up all this mystery, and then you find some mechanical way to explain everything in the third act in one chunk. Like, as I said, when your man was strapped to the chair in Get Out, and he's watching the TV screen, and they explain everything, in one fell swoop. That same thing happens here, and it's not nearly as effective. That same thing happens here, and it's so ineffective, again, because the screenplay just wants us to accept a lot of things without any plausible explanation. I keep coming back to that. Had they done something more, had they delved more into some sort of backstory, it could have worked. It could have worked. As it is, my suspension of disbelief couldn't go that far, and the third act, just makes this movie fall flat in the end, and it's a shame. I'll say that the young actors in this film, the actress and the actor playing the daughter and son, wonderful. They were very effective. Lupita, I wouldn't be mad if she got some sort of Oscar nod for this. She did a wonderful job. She's an amazing actress, and she can do things with her face. She did things with her face that creeped me the out in this movie. So she's playing dual roles, and she does a fantastic job. Winston Duke M'Baku himself, he was serviceable. He didn't have as much to do in terms of range as Lupita. I mean, nothing fantastic about his performance, but I'm going to use the word perfunctory. He got it done. The couple that were friends to Lupita's family, and I'm sorry, I don't remember anyone's name, any character's name in the film, but there's a white couple that the family, they go to the coast, to I think it's Santa Cruz they go to, and they hook up with this white couple that has a family. Those two actors were effective as well. I really liked them too. Tim Heidecker, I believe, was the husband, and Elizabeth something or other, I can't remember her name, played the wife. They were very effective too. I'm going to give this movie 3 reels because, again, I really like Jordan Peele as a filmmaker in terms of knowing how to set up this thriller or a mystery. I love the way it was shot. Visually, it was fantastic, suspenseful. I'm not a student of Hitchcock, but I would put Peele in that category in terms of building a story. He just needs some help learning how to pay off his first and second acts in his films. But I'd say go see it just to continue to see how Jordan Peele has a certain command of visuals and of suspense. I think it's worth it for that alone. I think watching the first 2 acts of this film indicate to me that he may have a pretty good grasp on Twilight Zone. He's going to be debuting Twilight Zone on CBS All Access this April, I want to say. So, yeah, I will go see his next film. I just hope he can give me a film that maintains its craft throughout. And what I mean, again, meaning don't give me a weak third act anymore, okay? Just, keep that quality going all the way through. And although I appreciate not being spoon-fed everything, every little detail, you gotta provide us the major details to make us want to believe the entirety of your story, which did not happen here. All right. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. If you have an explanation or if I missed something, please leave it in the comments below. All right. I will see you, I guess, next week when we get Shazam. All right. All right. That's the martini.